Hello and welcome back to the Gallagher Shot YouTube channel, where we are here to preview a game that probably just a couple of weeks ago a lot of Newcastle fans would have looked at with some trepidation, but I think after some of our recent exploits we'll be looking to relish a return to St James's Park. With me today are one familiar face and one new face. So we have Daryl with us today as always. Hi Daryl.
Hi Joe. Hi Nickel.
Hi.
And joining us on his debut is Nickel. How are you doing, mate?
I'm really good, thank you. Yeah, very excited and happy to be here. Can't wait to talk about this.
Smashing. Right, as ever, before we get into it, here's a word from our sponsor.
The Gallagher Shots match preview is brought to you by Magpin. Magpin are the go-to site for high-quality, unofficial enamel pin badges of Newcastle United players, legends and retro kits. For more information, visit their website at magpinbadges.bigcartel.com.
Spot on. Right, so before we even talk about the opposition, I've got one simple question for you, Daryl. Are we back?
Based on the evidence of Tuesday night, definitely. It was very much the Newcastle United of old, the one that we're all familiar with away from home. We had the great result down at Fulham despite not playing very well, and then we had the fantastic performance on Tuesday night and a result to match it as well against a team that's very much fancied for a top four finish this season. We were absolutely outstanding, and credit to the handsome man himself, Fabian Schär, for bagging 2 goals. Really should have got a hat-trick as well, by the way, Fabian, come on. And obviously the third goal as well with the own goal, thanks to brilliant work from Miguel Almiron and also Jacob Murphy, who I have to admit, it's really nice to see Jacob back in the team. I think we've missed his antics, we've missed his smile, we've missed just the general things that he brings to the team in spirit. And, it was such a fantastic result down there on Tuesday. It really should be filling the lads full of confidence and getting a bit of momentum behind us now. But then again, that's not to say that it's going to be that much of an easy game on Saturday, because Luton themselves are coming on the back of a very good result midweek.
Yeah, absolutely. And that brings me on to talking about, Luton itself. Luton, the whipping boys of the Premier League, apparently, causing quite a storm, aren't they? They're producing results, not just results, but performances that I think are probably systemic of a team that is maturing with time in the Premier League as they're adapting to these different oppositions. When we played them in the reverse fixture, it was during a pretty tough time for us. I'm not making excuses because Luton were great, but Nickel, given that we've had a bit of a break, given that we've put in some recent performances that are more akin to what we've seen last season, are we expecting similar to what we had with the reverse fixture, or do you think it's going to be a completely different game entirely?
Well, I think given that we're at home, we have to sort of expect, and I know that's weird for Newcastle fans, but we should probably expect to win this game, given where both teams are in the table, and the players and the quality that we have. We've seen it on Tuesday what they're capable of. And we know anyway what they're capable of from last season and earlier in this season. And I think we're a bit of a different animal at home, to be honest, and to what we are away. And as you said, the away game was in a very difficult and tiring time to be a Newcastle player, I would imagine, playing every 3 or 4 days. So I think it'll be a completely different, and yes, would expect to pick up all 3 points on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So it seems that this weird carousel is happening between Isak and Wilson. Whenever one is just coming back from injury, the other one seems to pick up a knock, a strain, something. Daryl, this is looking pretty unfortunate, isn't it? What I will say, though, is that it looks like Wilson might be available for the weekend, but it's unlikely that he's going to be able to play full 90 minutes. He might, but there's a chance that he'll have to come off. And we've seen Gordon recently go into that false 9 position, whatever you want to call it. It's not a position that's unfamiliar to Gordon. Obviously, he's played there a little bit for England. When he was younger, when he's in the youth academy for Everton, I believe, one of his coaches had said that he was looking to develop into that more central role, given the spaces that he tries to exploit. Do you think that we're going to see more of that at the weekend? Do you think that's something that Eddie Howe's looking like we might have to force ourselves into, given the injury situation?
Yeah, I think so. And, just to go back to what we're talking about, the carousel there, it is really unfortunate. But again, on the plus side, we know that Alexander Isak went off with an injury, but we don't know the severity. And obviously, we're recording the day before Eddie Howe's press conference. So we don't know what he's got to say exactly about what's going on. So we have to assume at the moment that there may be a chance that Isak is all right for the game. Maybe that's a case of putting him on the bench and starting Wilson, and then making that change later on if we need to. But again, in the worst case scenario where he isn't there, I think, Eddie said that Wilson was very close for Tuesday, but I think he was saving him more for this game on Saturday to use him there. And it's probably the best place to reintroduce him back into the team as well. He's going to have a bit better service to him now that he's got Murphy, Gordon, and Almiron all fighting for positions in the team, and also the returning Harvey Barnes, who we should also expect to return to the squad for this game. All fingers crossed and touch wood and everything else that goes with that. So it is going to be interesting because we're going to start to see some players return from injury, and it is in some cases going to provide us with a little bit more, a few more options and a little bit more flexibility. And like you say, we saw Gordon switch into the middle after Isak went off on Tuesday night. I think he's also done that a couple of times already this season, earlier in the season. I'm pretty sure I remember this happening, and Gordon was playing down the middle for spells. We've seen it before with Isak, where they swapped over. They did it a little bit in the game before Isak was injured. So it is interesting. I think it's a strength that Gordon has is that he can be a little bit flexible across that front three. And again, it's akin to a change in the style of play as well, because we can be set up more for the counter if we've got three pacey players across the front line. And we know Wilson and Isak have pace, but Gordon has that natural ability to just run and you keep going at a rate of knots. So, excuse me, it'll be good to see how this plays out for sure.
Yeah. Now, I was looking at Luton's recent performance against Brighton, which was, 4-0 against Brighton. Brighton obviously have been quite I say inconsistent side, but when they're on it. And they have a very, very good squad. To win 4-0 in the manner that they did is insane. And I was looking at how they did it, and a lot of it came from that narrow pressing in the midfield. They had the likes of Barkley who would win the ball back and then get Adebayo and Clark into play. And obviously, Adebayo got his hat-trick from that. So, Nicol, do you think this is a game where we're probably going to need to see the likes of Bruno and Longstaff be really quick in their decision-making and releasing the ball maybe sooner than what they have done? Because Bruno has had some criticism at times where he can maybe hold on to the ball a little bit too much. Do you think that he's not going to be afforded that chance in this game?
Yeah, obviously with you saying with them doing the narrow and high pressing in midfield, obviously midfield's been a bit of an issue for us anyway as it is this season, but obviously that's due to injuries and etc. I think we do need Bruno to sort of get his foot on the ball and move it just as quick as he can and get it out to the wings and get the fullbacks overlapping. I'm assuming it will be Trippier and Byrne again at fullback, but just get it out to the wings as quick as possible. And almost, I think obviously they're going to probably come back and sit back a bit, which is when we tend to struggle. So we also kind of need to draw them out a little bit to be able to then press and push forward as quick as we can. Because when we do break a press, we've obviously got the pace up front, especially if Gordon plays through the middle, to knock one over the top for him as well. If they're pressing forward a bit, but I think their general game plan is probably going to be to come, contain, frustrate the crowd and the players, and then try and maybe nick one on the break. That's what I would imagine the game's going to go. But as the Premier League goes, you never know. They might come and go for it, so which might work. If they do come and go for it, I think that would probably work in our favour, really.
Yeah, we saw that with Villa, didn't we? That Villa obviously played that high line, and then, as you say, knocking balls over to Gordon was just paying dividends. We were exploiting so much space. And I mean, Darryl, they typically play with a back three, if I'm not mistaken. Really, it's like a 3-4, almost 2-1 formation. if you want to call it that. So yeah, I just think that it's going to be a perfect game for the likes of Trippier to and Bruno to make those kind of triangles with Mickey or Murphy and try and get in behind.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's as much as we need to be attacking that formation, if that is the formation that they choose to play on Saturday, it also is going to cause us a problem in midfield, and we've just highlighted it there. And it's going to be a case of we've got to make sure that we don't get overrun in midfield. If they're going to play a lot of players in midfield to then try and create a high press in that part of the pitch, it's really going to put the pressure on our three-man midfield. You could end up in a situation where you've got one or two man advantage in that part of the pitch. And whether that requires one of the centre halves pulling out or pushing out even into midfield to help, or if it means that the wingers have to do a little bit of extra graft and come inside and squeeze that space to put the pressure on that midfield of Luton, then we're going to have to be really in for a tough time, not necessarily in a negative way, just a tough time in terms of having to put some hard graft in to make sure that we can capitalise on anything that Luton try to do. Our high pressing game is well known now, and we are capable of putting that effort in like we did on Tuesday. So it'll be interesting to see how we manage that. And again, like you say, if they are playing three at the back, then that gives us the numerical advantage in a way in attack, because it will literally be 3v3, and our boys are fast up front, regardless of which combination of the three plays really. So it'll be it's gonna be a problem for Luton if they can't handle it.
Yeah, you back out with three against you back out with three forwards, wouldn't you, to create enough and to finish them off.
I mean, speaking of which, though, we're starting to see something a lot of fans have been crying out for a while, and that's Miguel Almiron on the left-hand side. And obviously against Villa, his pass down the left-hand side caused the goal of the own goal, but the Murphy chance which led to the own goal. I mean, what did you think of that? It was nice seeing him be able to obviously do that, like instead of cutting inside all the time, which was worked early on last season, but then he was kind of found out, and now we're seeing that opportunity where he's able to just like strike them in on his left foot. I mean, do you think that's something that we'll probably see a lot more of now that Murphy's back as well? It's a case of almost needs must.
Yeah, I was going to say with Murphy returning, it kind of makes sense to if we need Gordon to play in the middle to push Miggy out to that left. He is left-footed after all, so he might not be cutting in like he was last season. But if he does what he did on Tuesday night and just whips it in without thinking about it, it's probably going to be more effective. Especially if we do get a poacher like Wilson coming back into the side, because that's the type of ball that he'll sort of thrive on. Or even Isak if he can make it. I don't know what Eddie's going to say tomorrow, but I wasn't expecting either of them to feature on Saturday. But you never know, do you? With Eddie, he always keeps his powder dry on that. So,
do you know what it is? It's interesting because a lot of emphasis is put on inverted wingers, and inverted wingers is a very popular thing to do at the moment, and have a right-footed player on the left and a left-footed player on the right. And to be honest, with the way we play at the moment, I think it's time that we went back to the original and had the right-footed player on the right and the left-footed player on the left, because we can have players break into that box, and we have the strikers to do it. We have some of the midfielders can get in there and also pose themselves a bit of a threat. It's about time we did that and made the goalkeepers work as well. We're going to have goalkeepers second guessing whether or not they should come and collect across this out, like sort of like when it's bent in and it's sort of swinging outwards because there's that much curl on it. Rather than an in-swinger. And I think it's going to cause problems. And I think I would like to see more of it. I would like to see Miguel Almiron on the left. I think it could be a lot more profitable on that side. Murphy's pretty much cemented on there at the minute after his return from injury. And obviously Gordon is an option as well. I think Gordon is more the original, even though I've just said that I'd like to see different. Gordon's better at being a traditional inverted winger where he can come in off that left with his right foot and pepper the goal with shots and whatnot. But if we have to rely on Gordon through the middle, then we just go conventional. Absolutely.
Yeah, and what you're saying about exploiting space, we saw Miley make this inverted run like 4 or 5 times in the first half to help Gordon out, which allowed Byrne to stay as part of that back three. So we might try and repeat that again, where if Miggy's out on the left-hand side, that almost inversion or it will come from Miley to provide those options either side of the fullback. So they're going to have to not be able to commit either way, and that opens up more space. And It reminds me of that recent interview that Gordon had with Rio Ferdinand, where he was talking about his timings into the box and the way that he tries to exploit space and commit fullbacks. And I think if he's in the centre, what you might see is if you got Miggy and Murphy stretching the wings by playing a little bit more on the byline instead of coming in, that maybe just provides that extra few yards of space for going to get in the box. But yeah, he's definitely going to need to have a bit more support from the midfield as well, because obviously he's not an out-and-out centre forward. He's going to need the likes of Longstaff and maybe Bruno to an extent, although he might hold back to try and offer a second option if need be. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Right, Daryl.
Yes.
You've got some stats for us, don't you? Because we all love a stat on this show.
We do.
I know you've been dying. To talk about them. So,
well,
go on, talk to us.
As you know, I like to sort of put a bit of emphasis on previous games against Luton. Previous games against the opposition. In this case, Luton. In this case, it'll be at St James's Park. Now, we haven't really played Luton a lot in the last. It stretches back 40 years, would you believe? There's only been 10 meetings in the last 40 years at St James's Park. And in those 10 meetings, 3 of them were in the FA Cup. And there was one which was classed as the Nationwide Championship, which was the first season of the Premier League in 92-93, which was our promotion season, of course. And then the rest of them would have appeared in Division 1 and Division 2 during the mid to late 80s. So the good news I can tell everybody is in those last 10 meetings, Luton have not won. So Luton haven't won a game at St James's Park in at least 40 years. Or 43 years.
Dr. Newcastle will see you now.
No. He's finished. He's gone back in his box after the last 2 games. He's away back in his box. He's not coming back out. So there are positive signs there. There's been a lot of wins. There's been some high-scoring games as well. But in general, Luton do not win here. So, based on that, I think, we get criticised quite a bit on here for being negative. We're not negative today. These are positive stats, and that's how we like them. So, looking forward to that. I think Saturday could be a pretty interesting game. Honestly, you cannot argue with the stats.
Did we play them in the champion? Did we play them in the championship season?
Not in the championship season. We'd have played them in the last time we played them here would have been in the FA Cup in 2017-18.
Right. Okay.
Wow.
Mark's favourite player, Jose Perez, got 2
goals.
So there you go.
I miss him. I do miss him.
I know Mark loves him really.
we could do with him now, to be honest.
Well,
we could do with them now.
Imagine him.
Honestly, yeah, it'd be pretty decent.
That second half of the season. That second half of the season when he used to wake up and play.
Him and Rondon in that was it the 18-19 season?
And Almiron, Almiron and Rondon, yeah.
Oh, that front 3 man propelled us to whatever it was, an 11th place finish. Or what a time! What a time to be alive, eh?
Absolutely.
Right. There's one player that I wanted to talk about from a Luton perspective, and that's Adebayo, who has been honestly pretty phenomenal for them, especially since this resurgence that they've had. Obviously, he got a hat-trick the other day against Brighton, but he's been really consistent and popping up, and he's been scoring different kinds of goals as well. He's got headers, he's got tap-ins, he's scoring some really good goals. And combined with that as well, I've noticed that Luton's set pieces have been pretty dangerous. Obviously, you've got the likes of Townsend, Barkley, who we all know from previous, have got a great dead ball in them. So is this just a game where you're just going to have to get the likes of Dan Burn, Botman, Shed, just to stick on the big lads and outmuscle them? I mean, Nicol, do you think that's just going to be the case? We'll just outmuscle them in the box? Yeah,
definitely. That's what we need. It's what we're going to have to do. But as well as that, no silly free kicks in and around the box. Don't get they might try and draw us into some sort of battle. Try and rise above that. No silly free kicks around the box, because if it is a tight game, it could be a set piece that decides it. And obviously, that's not what we want from a Luton perspective.
Yeah, and don't forget that. What's he called? Bruno. He's about 2. Yeah. He's 1 yellow card away from a 2-game ban.
Yeah.
Keep your head, Bruno, please.
That resets. Does that reset before the end of the season, like April time or something? It was like 6 weeks.
I don't think it does. I'm not quite sure.
It feels like a matter of time before he gets that.
You saw. I'll tell you what, though, you could tell on Tuesday he was desperate not to get a yellow card, because there was a couple of times where he sort of went in, and then you think, oh, and then a couple of other times where he was desperate. He really wanted to put a tackle in, but he really held his nerve and really kept his mind to not do it.
Yeah, I mean, Daryl, do you think in the absence of Joe Linton, we're going to need to see Miley step up and just be a bit more of a shithouse and draw some of those fouls? I mean, he's got one yellow card against Liverpool, which wasn't even a foul in most people's opinion, but he got it anyway. I mean, is that going to be something that's going to have to develop into his game, that he's just going to have to be a little bit more brutal and know when to commit those tactical fouls? Not saying he should do it on the edge of the box, as we've obviously just spoken about, but whilst Bruno's kind of treading this tightrope, like, just be a bit more.
Well,
physical. I think he's a 17-year-old kid, like, so.
Yeah, I mean, until we get a couple of more bodies back to provide a little bit more depth in the midfield, and we're looking at the likes of your Willocks and even your Harvey Barneses, I think it's not just on Lewis Miley as well. It's on Sean. Sean needs to come in there, and the pair of them need to come to an agreement and take a couple of more fouls for the team to help Bruno out. And I think if it's going to be a case where Bruno does end up getting a yellow card, it needs to be at a point where the bodies are there to help bolster the midfield, and also they need to be for games that we aren't, because we tend not to win without Bruno, so they need to be for games where we think we can get away with not playing Bruno. So watch him just get booked on Saturday, and he'll be missing the next two.
He's got that bit. He's got that bit of bite in him, though. But that's what makes him and Joel. Absolutely. That's what makes them the players that they are, really. Because if you take that out of him, then he's still good on the ball, but he's not as good sort of off the ball, and we need that, really. Especially to get a hold in midfield and then to push on from there. So
we'll end up playing out
on a sugar rush from all that Kinder chocolate he's having. Tell you what, that's a deal of the century, isn't it? Two boxes of Kinder for a shirt.
I know what I'm taking to the next away end.
I know. Brilliant. Right, now, before we come on to the best bit of the show, which is the predictions, quick note just to make sure, if you like this video, like, subscribe, and even become a member of the Gallagher Shots YouTube channel, where you can get access to the Telegram group, where we have loads of great crack. Loads of members are in there. It's fantastic. You get early access to videos and members exclusives. So little as $2.99 a month. Don't forget to check that out. But now, the fun bit. Right, Nickel, since it's your debut, mate, I'm going to come to you first. And I'm going to ask you, what do you think is going to happen on the weekend?
Debut and all that, I've got to be
specifically on Newcastle.
I kind of come out and be negative. As I said at the top,
join the crew.
I'm expecting a win, so I'm obviously going to predict a win, and I'm going to go big, 3-1.
Ooh,
good lad.
I don't see us keeping a clean sheet, unfortunately, because of what we spoke about in midfield. And they're decent at set pieces, as we spoke about, and they're in a bit of good form. So expect them to get a goal, but I do think with the crowd behind us, it's been a while since a home game. It feels like it's been a long time. So hopefully that will give the crowd an edit and a bit of push. And yes, I'm expecting goals. I think Gordon will get on the score sheet, and we'll say Bruno. And then one off the bench if he's playing for Harvey Barnes.
Ooh, I like it.
Oh, I love that. I love that on his return.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Right, Darryl, stats don't lie, mate. What are you going to say?
He's going to turn around and say 1-0.
Well, funnily enough, actually, before he said it, I had 3-1 in my head, so I'm sticking with 3-1.
There we go.
Goal scorers, here we go. Anthony Gordon for Fantasy League and just for general niceness. I really think Kieran's got a free kick in him still, so I think I fancy Kieran to a free kick this time. I think he hit the bar down at Kenilworth Road, if I remember rightly. He came close, so I fancy one. And as much as I would love Bruno to score, I'm still gonna stick with one of the forward lads. So I'm gonna say Almiron. Finally, another word for Almiron. let's have that.
I think to be fair, it would be great for Almiron to get a goal on Saturday.
Yeah.
Because of all the talk that's been about him. Some of it has been unfair, I do think.
Yeah.
And a bit far. So he's obviously got his assist on Tuesday. If you can get a goal on Saturday, that keeps the haters quiet for a bit longer.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. You can do an Jose Perez style celebration at the Gallagher.
Oh, is it that one? Is it that one?
Yeah. You can do one of these.
That one. Yeah. Right. Honestly,
I wait it, Joe.
Well, you know what? I was thinking something similar. I had either 2-0 or 3-1 in my head. I think it's going to be a quite. I don't want to say convincing victory in that we're basically Luton are going to roll over because they have shown to be absolutely phenomenal. But I just think that what we had predicted about us having that break and being able to get back to our old selves, to be able to press, to be able to keep that energy level up for 90 minutes. I just think that now that we're playing once a week, it's going to be back. And you saw it against Villa. I think that psychologically can't be understated how important that is to the rest of our season. And we are an absolute monster at home. So I actually think we're going to keep a clean sheet. I think I trust the lads to get it done. Professional performance. Again, I reckon Gordon's going to get on the score sheet, especially if he's going to be playing in that more central position. And I'm going to say, let's go Botman on a set piece. Let's go Botman on a set piece. Let's do it. Right. Yeah. So, well, I mean, pretty positive, which makes a change from all the negative behaviour that's been going on recently.
It's amazing what two wins can do.
I know.
No, I know. It's funny. It's a week is a long time in football, isn't it? But anyway, right. So the last thing I've got to say is thank you to Daryl and Nickel for joining me. And thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. And we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.
Bye.